According to a 2010 study done by the Kaiser Family Foundation, American teenagers spend an average of 31 hours a week watching TV, 17 hours a week listening to music, 3 hours a week watching movies, 4 hours a week reading magazines, and 10 hours a week using the internet. That comes to an average of 10 hours and 45 minutes of media consumption a day. Obviously, this large amount of media consumption is going to affect people's perceptions of the world. The study of social cognition explains how people construct stereotypes and judgments by two basic principles. One, that people do not use all the knowledge they possess to form a judgment. They only use a small amount of the information. And two, information that comes most readily to the mind will be the information used to form these judgments. 4 factors that affect what information comes to mind most readily are frequency of seeing information, recency of seeing information, vividness of the information being presented, and the relationships formed between different pieces of information. As said before, media is consumed in America on a very large scale on a regular basis, so information presented in media is easily remembered. The images that media use are also incredibly eye-catching in order to grab the viewer's attention, so the information media presents is very vivid. Lastly, American media tends to be very consistent in the stereotypes it presents, so the relationships your brain forms between different images, such as Egyptians and mummies, are also very consistent. Thus, media consumption has a huge effect on how Americans form stereotypes. One area that has been consistently misrepresented in the media is the Arab world. Skewed views of the Middle East date all the way back to the period of European Enlightenment, as European scholars started to study the world. These scholars created an us versus them mentality with the East and the West, involving sweeping generalizations and stereotypes across countless cultures and borders. This is known as Orientalism. Orientalism characterizes Arabs as exotic, bloodthirsty, backwards, weak, and uncivilized. These Orientalist views were brought to the colonies with the tales of the Barbary pirates and the Arabian Nights. Throughout the years, Arab stereotypes have evolved to include oil sheiks and terrorists, especially since the events of September 11. Because there is so much information news stations are capable of broadcasting, producers have to pick and choose what information to show in order to attract the most viewers. This picking and choosing of information is called framing. News frames serve to simplify and prioritize news to fit existing societal concepts, values, and knowledge. They also use sensational and exaggerated information in order to further entice the audience. American news stations have been known to show some very stereotypical and even xenophobic views of Arabs and Muslims, which the news refuses to differentiate between.
She knew about this. She ought to be in prison for wearing a hijab. This immigration policy of us assimilating immigrants into our culture isn't really working. No, they're assimilating us into their culture. She got a clitorectomy, too?
Dubai vacation. It was Matt's exotic 4th stop this morning. But how can you visit Dubai without the budget of a sheikh?
And in the Impact segment tonight, how should good Muslims fight the jihad?
While the images shown on the news will always be sensationalized, framing them in a skewed and stereotyped way leads to further perpetuation of these negative stereotypes in the entertainment industry. Film and TV writers see these images in the news and take them as fact, which leads them to show these images in their shows and movies. In a study done by Jack Shaheen of over 900 Hollywood films, only 5% of Arab film roles depict normal human characters. Arab women are eroticized, and men are shown as either oil-hoarding crones that ravage white women or terrorists. Aladdin, released in 1992, is a good example of an incredibly mainstream movie that depicts Arab in practically every stereotypical way possible.
I come from a land, from a faraway place, where the caravan camels roam. Where it's flat and immense and the heat is intense. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. When the wind's from the east and the sun's from the west and the sand in the glass is right, come on down, stop on by, hop a carpet and fly to another Arabian night.
As you can see, the amount of stereotypical imagery in Aladdin is overwhelming, most notable in regards to the eroticizing of Arab women and its portrayal of Arabs as disgustingly wealthy. and being a movie for children, this is one of the first views of the Arab world that Americans are exposed to. A more modern example of American misperceptions is Family Guy.
Wow, this place is really cool, Mahmoud. It's like ear-bloodening sounds had sex with nose-bloodening smells, and this is their baby.
I am glad you are enjoying yourself. Would you like some of my meat fushnush? It's a chicken that has been yelled at for 2 hours and then run over by a Mercedes.
Oh, you can really taste the fear in the chicken.
You know, Peter, a lot of people are not as accepting of Muslim culture as you are.
Well, I think everything about it is the best. Like this hookah. I mean, who doesn't want to sit around a table with a bunch of guys and suck on the same thing? It's like smoking my grandfather's jacket. Man, I wish I could stay here all night, Mahmoud, but I'm supposed to pick up the dry cleaner before it closes. I killed a mouse with my tie.
Nonsense. I'll have my wife pick it up for you.
What? She'd do that?
Oh, absolutely. I need you to run an errand for my friend Peter.
Of course. Anything for you, husband.
That was amazing. She just listened to everything you said.
Of course she listened. In Muslim culture, wives are much more obedient.
No way, that's awesome! So wait, let me get this straight. Sweet hat, obedient wife, and I get to shout, Admiral Akbar! When I do stuff? You, sir, have got yourself a Muslim.
While Family Guy is known for its crude humor, this goes beyond that and is borderline Islamophobic. There are many offensive stereotypes of the culture here. Also, the episode goes on to paint all Arabs as terrorists.
While these stereotypes and offensive imagery may seem like nothing more than offensive to a large region of the world, the consequences of holding such beliefs are far-reaching and frightening. The recent aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombing shows how these misconceptions affect Arab Americans.
Something just blew up at
The FBI is investigating it as an act of terrorism.
It was a terrorist attack of some sort.
Well, obviously there's nothing definite yet, but it has all the hallmarks, earmarks of a Al-Qaeda type attack. It reminds me very much of what happened in Times Square, which is odd.
He is a Saudi national who was near the scene of the blast. When the blast happened, he began to run. Now, in context, a lot of people began to run. A civilian who thought that this individual was acting suspiciously chased him down and tackled him and then turned him over to Boston police saying, I saw this guy hanging around over there acting suspiciously, and then he ran.
Well, I just learned from my own sources that he is now going to be deported on national security grounds next Tuesday.
Do you think that your friend had anything to do with the bombing at the marathon?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
No, because they're good people.
He says that police questioned him for a good 5 hours last night.